Mark here from newhometricks.com, and today I'm going to run through how we got on with the installation and setup of our Tado smart thermostat and extension kit. The process followed three basic steps. Firstly, you register for an account on the Tado website and receive your customized setup instructions. Then you actually go through the physical installation of the equipment itself, and then you finish by completing your setup on the Tado website and installing the app onto your phone. Now, the middle stage, where we went through the DIY part of the installation, I'm not going to go through that in full detail here in the video. The reason being that everybody's heating system is a little bit different, and those customized installation instructions that you get from Tado will vary based on how your heating system is set up and what kind of system you've got in your home. So it's always important to follow instructions that are relevant to you, or if you're not confident, get a professional to do the installation for you. But I'll get started today with the first stage, and we'll go through all of the other steps in this video as well, and hopefully you'll see how we got on with our installation.
Okay, so as mentioned in the unboxing video, a lot of the components in the box have some cards with them that say that in order to get going with your installation, you need to go to tado.com/start, which I've done. And that then asks you to sign up for a new account. I've not shown that here because obviously that's going to have all my login and credential details on it. It then comes to this screen where it says before you can install or try out Tado, you need to create your home. So if you click on the little information icon here, it gives you a few bits of advice on what you're actually doing here. You need to create a home defined in the Tado setup. You can actually create a home even without the physical smart thermostat. This way you can try out the mobile and web app without temperature information. So if you'd like to play around with the app and have a look at the service before actually committing to buying the Tado system or renting it, because you can rent it as well, then you can actually sign up here and have a play around before you actually buy. So I'm going to go ahead and press the Create Home button. On the next screen, I suspect it's going to ask me for my home address, so I may skip over that as well. Okay, so as expected, it did indeed ask me for all my address and personal information, so I've input that on the previous screen. You then get to choose whether or not you want to explore the web app or start the installation. So obviously if you go ahead and explore the app, you can then have a play around with the web app without actually having your physical Tado equipment set up. So if you are just wanting to have a play around and explore the app before you buy, you can do that. Or you can then move on to the installation, and of course it wants you to choose a starter point. Are you starting with a smart radiator thermostat, a regular smart thermostat, air conditioning control, an extension kit? I suspect in our case I'll be wanting to choose extension kit, since that's the unit that we'll need to install with the boiler in order to get things up and running. And it then asks you what you want to do. Are you wanting to install it yourself with customized instructions, book an installation service, or is your Tado already installed and you just want to connect it to your account? So if you go ahead and say install myself with customized step-by-step instructions, it then tells you that it's going to go through three processes. Setup is going to go through selecting your current setup and system models, register your Tado devices, and then get detailed installation instructions or book a professional installer. So again, it's giving you another chance there to say, you know what, I can't do this, I'm going to have to get someone to come and do it for me. And again, just as reiterated in many times on some of my previous videos here, you are messing around with your heating system here. So if you're not confident in what you're doing, always go ahead and get a professional to do this for you. But we're going to go ahead and try this ourselves. So we'll click Start. It then asks you to specify what your current setup is. And it's giving you an array of different choices. A boiler with a wired room thermostat, a boiler with one external controller, a boiler with a wired thermostat and an external controller, wireless thermostat with a boiler and an external receiver. So there's all sorts of different setups here. So we've got to go ahead and choose the best approach for us. Now in our case, we've got a boiler with an external controller, which is sometimes referred to as a timer or programmer. We don't have a wired thermostat. We don't have any kind of wireless thermostats at the moment. Our heating is simply controlled using the timer programmer and thermostatic radiator valves. So I'm going to click on this, and it's going to give us a bit more information here. This is one boiler with an external controller. This is a device located next to your boiler at which you set heating times for the day or week, e.g. that you want to heat between 6 and 8 AM every day. A boiler is the actual heating furnace, which is often located in the basement of a house, or in the case of flats, in a kitchen or a bathroom. So this is the appropriate setup for us. So I hit select, and now it's going to ask us to search through for our heating controller. And it says select your existing external controller. So this isn't the actual boiler model, this is the actual heating controller itself that we're searching for at this point. So we're selecting the make and model of the timer programmer. In our case this is a Honeywell. I have located the model code, but it looks like here that particular model hasn't been found. So I'll try clicking on this. I cannot find my model. And it asks you to go through the process of putting in the details that you do have. So I'll just put that in here and just see if that does come up. You can upload pictures. I'm just going to say continue. Okay, so it looks like now we're moving on to the boiler. Please use the search field or the manufacturer selection to find your models. So now we need to figure out what the boiler is that we've got and enter the details in. Okay, so in our case we have a Baxi boiler, so if you select that from the drop down, and there's loads of different manufacturers that are supported here by the looks of it, it will then come up with all of the different Baxi boilers available, of which there are many, so you've got to make sure that you select the right one in order to get customized setup instructions. In our case it is a Bahama 100, and that has come up this time, so we're good here. So if I click on that, Baxi Bahama 100, click on select, and then it says select the additional controller of your boiler. Your boiler might have an additional controller installed in the control panel. Please take a look to it and see and select the correct one. Now in our case we don't have a timer or controller built directly into the boiler, it is a separate controller. So I'm just going to say no additional controller, and then click select to continue. And so it's going to come up and say confirm. This is the setup you've selected. Please check again carefully. You can go back and change your selection. So external controller, model not found, boiler, Baxi Bahama 100, click confirm. And then it's going to come up and say our engineers need to check on your system. Your setup needs to be checked by our engineers. This will happen within 48 hours. We apologise for the inconvenience. So essentially what they're going to do is they're going to go off and actually create customised setup instructions for us here. The process that they're effectively going through is saying, okay, in order to give you your own set of customised step-by-step instructions, if it's in our database, we will generate that for you automatically. If it's not in the database, then we're going to go and research that and create instructions for you. So Tado are obviously looking after your best interests here and are trying to make sure that they're not giving you instructions that are wrong or that could cause a problem for you with your system. So it's quite nice that they're doing that. So you can hit the button to say save and send a support request, or you can of course go back and choose different information if you want to adjust the information that you've provided.
Right, so it's at this point that we decided we were going to cheat. Because the controller programmer that we currently had installed wasn't in Tado's database, it meant that the Tado website wasn't able to automatically produce a set of customized installation instructions for us. That meant that we had two options. One, wait for up to 48 hours for Tado's support service to come back with a set of installation instructions that they manually created. Two, skip ahead and use the installation documents that had come inside the envelope marked professional installers only to just complete the installation ourselves. We decided that we would go ahead and do this. We'd had previous experience changing the programmer on the boiler before, so we were fairly comfortable that we'd be able to complete the installation. Now there are two sets of instructions inside that envelope. One is marked low voltage digital installations and the other is marked 230 volt relay installations, which was the one applicable for us. We were able to complete the process fairly easily. We decided that we would wire the extension kit into the boiler in a manner that allowed us to continue to use the old programmer if we needed it. Effectively, this was a safety net to allow us to override and activate the boiler if anything went wrong with the Tado system. We've since learned that we didn't really need to do this. The Tado extension kit only really has one button, which is primarily marked as the pairing button, but you can actually use that button to manually activate the heating if anything goes wrong with any of the other components in your Tado system. So we didn't need to necessarily wire things in the way that we did. At some point in the future we might change things, but that's the way things are wired in. You wire in the extension kit to your boiler. Once that's complete and you've turned the power back on, the next step is to connect up your internet bridge that came in the box. And again, you would have seen that during the unboxing video. That's a fairly straightforward process. You just plug the Ethernet cable into the extension kit and then connect that up to your router, plug in the power supply, and then you press the pairing button on the internet bridge and the pairing button on the extension kit. This then pairs the two devices together and gets them all set up. There's no real additional steps to do at this point. The next thing to do though is to actually activate the smart thermostat device itself. That comes with batteries pre-installed, so you just remove a little isolator tab and the smart thermostat immediately turns on. You then go into an installer menu. Again, the installation instructions will be either in here or in your custom installation instructions provided by Tado. You go through a few extra steps there to pair the smart thermostat with the internet bridge as well, which in our case was still in pairing mode, so we were just able to do that fairly easily. There are then one or two extra settings that you configure on the thermostat, such as whether you're using it to control hot water, and you're done. Interestingly, some of those advanced settings that you configure on the smart thermostat, such as whether you're controlling hot water, are not exposed in the Tado app or the Tado website. So these are things that you can only do at present on the actual physical thermostat itself. But once you've completed those steps and the firmware is downloaded and updated, which is kind of the last thing that happens, then you can continue your installation on the Tado website.
Okay, so we've managed to now get the extension kit installed. We've managed to get the internet bridge connected up to the router and hook that into our connection. We've managed to get the extension kit paired with the internet bridge, and we've managed to get the smart thermostat active and linked up to the extension kit and internet bridge as well. So we're going to go ahead now and just go through this process and say extension kit already installed, since it's now physically set up. The first thing that it wants us to do though is to register the internet bridge. So all three of the components, the internet bridge, the extension kit and the smart thermostat, come with a little sticker on them with the serial number and authentication code that is being asked for here. And you can actually peel those off the devices and stick it into your own records card if you wish. There'll still be an additional sticker more physically and more firmly attached to the device. So if you lose these things, there'll still be one on the actual device itself. But because you're installing these things in a location that you might not always have easy physical access to, they provide these stickers as an easy way of doing that. So I'll just type in the serial number and authentication code now. Okay, so entering those details and pressing continue, it thought about it for a moment and it's then come up with this information. And we've got a nice green tick here saying congratulations, your internet bridge has successfully connected to our server. So we'll hit the continue button to proceed to the next screen. And it says, which installer has installed your Tado devices? Please ask your installer for it with an ID and VAT number. I'm just going to say no thanks, since that wasn't the way we did it. And it says professional installation pending. Once your Tado has been installed, please confirm that the installation has been completed. I'm just going to say confirmed and then say confirm successful installation. And we now have this screen appears and it's coming up and giving us the information about our home, the temperature inside the home, the humidity, and the set temperature here in the center, saying that we can configure manual control. And up in the top right here there's a little, I'm not sure if you can tell on the video, but there's a little icon here pulsing away to say that it's time to set a smart schedule. So we need to obviously configure our schedule here and get this all set up. So if we hit on the little icon here, it's going to say meet the smart schedule, set the temperatures for when you're at home. Since the schedule is smart, the settings only become active when somebody is at home. So we'll click on next here, and the away mode automatically becomes active when everybody has left the house. Set a temperature or let Tado calculate the most efficient temperature. So I'll hit next again here. When early start is activated, Tado ensures that the desired temperature is already reached at the start of a schedule block. You can deactivate early start in the smart schedule settings. So what this basically means is that when you set time slots in Tado for the heating to run, you're not telling it when you want the boiler to start, when you want it to finish heating. You're telling it when you want your home to be at that temperature, and it will figure out for you when to start heating in order to reach the temperature at your desired time. So we'll just go ahead and set that up. So what we've got here is a heating schedule that's already been defined for midnight through to 7 AM, and then from 10 PM through to midnight on Monday to Sunday. You can change it to be Monday through Friday, and then a Saturday and a Sunday, or you can have separate Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So you can set this up however you want it, whether you want it to be Monday through Sunday, Monday to Friday, and the Saturday and Sunday. So you can set up all sorts of different schedules here, and then you can add time blocks. Let's see now. For Monday to Friday, I'm just going to adjust this. You can just drag with this little slider here, so that's nice and easy, through 6 till... I'm going to say that we want the heating to reach a nice temperature at 6 o'clock. If I click on this, we can set a temperature that we want, so fairly straightforward to do. So yeah, I'm going to have a play around with this and set up a smart schedule now that we want, and then just see see how that works for us over the next few days. So let me just go ahead and play around with this now and see where we get to with this. Okay, so I've had a play around with the schedules and set things up how I think we're going to want them, but obviously you can make adjustments to this and make changes to how you want your home to be heated. So you can define some periods where you want the heating to be off, where you want the heating to be on, and if you click here you can choose whether these off periods are actually off or are just set to a particular temperature. If you say off, then the temperature will have what they call frost protection, so it won't allow the temperature to get so cold that your pipes freeze. So I've set up some different zones here, some different heating time blocks, and if I go into the away screen here, this is active when nobody's home. So you can set a minimum temperature, and you can also adjust the preheat before arrival. By default it's set to balance. You can set it to comfort, which means the heating will start further away as you get closer to home, or you can set it to eco, so you need to get a lot closer to home before the heating starts, or you can say off. I want to set to off, Tado only starts heating after your arrival. I'm going to set it to eco, see how we get on with that. And that's my heating schedule set up, and that is now just about done. The only other thing to really do is to download and install the app onto my phone and make sure that that's operating correctly. But other than that, that's really the setup pretty much done. So everything's sort of set up here in the web. I think that you probably could have done the setup on smartphone as well, but as a process goes, this has been fairly straightforward for us.
With those steps on the website completed, there's only really 1 or 2 tasks left to do. One is to invite the other members of your household to the Tado system. Just pop in the email address and it'll send a link to them to allow them to log in and download the app. And secondly, download the app yourself. It's available for Android, iOS and for Windows. And with the app installed, that will enable full location-based control of your heating, and of course local and remote control of your heating through the app too. Now, depending on what smartphone platform you have, you might be encouraged to follow through on 1 or 2 extra steps to get the app set up. For example, I'm now using Android for my smartphone, and I was encouraged to disable the battery optimization feature for the Tado app specifically. This is because apparently if battery optimization runs against the Tado app, it can prevent the app from frequently updating the Tado system with your location. I'll obviously be watching closely to see if it does adversely impact the performance of the battery, and I'll report back on that and more in a separate video where I'm going to explore the app user interface, how it works, and our first impressions of the Tado system. So I'm not going to go into that in full detail today, but hopefully that's been a good overview of the setup and installation process. Of course, we haven't really gone through in full detail the actual DIY work that we did today. The reason being for that is I think it's important that if you're going to install Tado, that you follow through a set of installation steps that are specific to your heating system. Tado will produce these either automatically, or they'll engage their customer services team to produce installation steps for your home manually if necessary. So they will help you out in that regard. But of course, one final time, if you're not confident doing this work yourself, do enlist the help of a professional. For more information, I have of course written up a companion blog post. You'll find the link to that in the description below, or check out the website newhometricks.com. If you've liked this video, please share it. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.